Testing one, two. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us either in person or on the Zoom. Before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and check on our hands raised on the Zoom for public comment or comment on agenda items. So I'm going to go through and see who I have here. First up, we have Audit LA. Could you let us know if you have a general public comment or agenda item today?
Yes, good morning. I want public comment, please, and every item up to my 10 minutes.
Got it.
Since I
Thank
still
you.
have that right.
Next hand raised I see is caller Barry Bader. Can you please let us know if you have general public comment for today's meeting? You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Good morning. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. General public comment and public comment on all agenda items. Thank you.
Got it, thank you. Next caller I see is caller with the hand raised, Carla. Can you let us know if you have general public comment or comment on any of our agenda items?
Good morning. Yes, general public comment, please.
Thank you, Carla. Next caller with the hand raised I see is caller Mona M. Can you let us know, oh, sorry, I clicked on the wrong person. Caller Mona M, can you let us know if you have general public comment today or comment on our agenda items?
Good morning and thank you. Just public comment this morning.
Thank you, caller. Next hand raised I see is caller Tigi McLean. If you can go ahead and let us know, unmute yourself if you have general public comment or comment on our agenda items.
Hi, thank you. Good morning. I just have general public comment, please.
Thank you, caller. We will get to you when we get to that item. And last hand raised I see on the Zoom platform is caller Juju. If you could let us know if you have general public comment or comment on our agenda items.
General public comment, please.
Thank you. Ready? Let me know when you're ready and I'll put it in record.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Public Works meeting for Friday, November 8th. Ms. Zatorsky, if you want to get us started with roll and recording.
Great. Good morning, President Corsan. We are now in record mode. Again, Devin Zatorsky with the Board of Public Works taking roll in establishing quorum. We are joined today by President Corsan, Vice President Chavez, President Pro Tem Grant, Commissioner Kang, and Commissioner Mitchell, and we have a quorum, and it is exactly 10 a.m. Again, like I said, I'm Devin Zatorsky with the Board of Public Works. We're also joined by our City Attorney Representative, Adina Hoppenstand. We have 6 speaker cards under general public comment on the Zoom, no neighborhood council commentary, and we have a speaker on all items.
Wonderful. Why don't we first approve the minutes from Wednesday, October 23rd? If I have a second to my motion to approve.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Zatorsky. We have a first from myself and a second from Commissioner King.
Great, we'll take the roll call starting with you, President Corsan.
Aye?
Vice President Chavez.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Grant.
Aye.
Commissioner King.
Aye.
And Commissioner Mitchell.
Aye.
Wonderful, all ayes, the item is adopted.
All right, moving on to general public comment. We will allow 2 minutes per individual. Testimony shall be limited in content and matters which are within the subject matter and jurisdiction of the board. The board may not take any action on those matters discussed. Please keep that in mind. And our city attorney will gladly facilitate and step in if someone is not speaking to topic. Ms. Zatorsky, why don't we start general public comment?
Great, all our public comments are via the Zoom platform today, so I'm going to go in the order of folks that we checked in earlier and raised their hand. So we will start with caller Audit LA. You will have 2 minutes.
President Corsan, you're getting feisty already. I'm sorry I'm not there to be in person. But I want to actually say thank you to this city attorney. I wish I was there. I am actually very thankful to you because I know for a fact that Scientology, like the bigwigs, we're talking Janet, the handler, and I think even Mox and the unindicted co-conspirator of Operation Snow White has been putting a lot of pressure on you to overturn the rules of street permits where it's for vehicles only that are prohibited, not pedestrians. And I know for a fact that they were hounding you to go against the rules or to try to change the rules or to find a loophole for them. And you stood by and stood your ground and said, these are the rules and that's that. And now things have been changing like in a little bit, but not well enough. So I thank you. I want to complain today about how they are abusing their permits still. If it says like today they're allowed a permit from 3 p.m., they start shutting down earlier. One time they shut down a day earlier. We're all sick and tired of how they just feel they have the right to do whatever they want. Again, the ADA planters are still there. They're doubling down and making them closer together. I am about to see, it's got to stop. They snatched 2 girls, like 2 girls tried to escape Scientology and their goons snatched them back. They're using the street. I believe they're even using that big building thing that they just built without, I don't see any permits for that. Has anyone inspected that? Can you please send inspectors over there? Please, at least to let us know that something is being done to try to get them under control
Thank you, caller.
and to
That's
obey
2
the
minutes.
law.
We're going to move on to our next caller is Barry Bader. If you can unmute yourself, you'll have 2 minutes for your general public comment.
Hi, yes, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. I just want to do 2 commendations first and foremost. First to Commissioner Corsan for being a upholding board member and commissioner of this board and following the agenda item. We appreciate you going and taking public comment. You new board members would be doing well to take after Commissioner Corsan, as well as, of course, Commissioner Grant, who is a upstanding board member and, in fact, followed through with a cure and correct and showed his integrity. So we appreciate the both of you. And for the folks in the general audience members, you can take a look. About a week and a half ago, there was an incident for a now ex and frankly disgraced Public Works board member who tried suppressing public comment. And so thank you, Commissioner Corson and Commissioner Grants, for you new commissioners. Please do take a look at them. They are great mentors. What I want to go and speak on next is the ever ongoing issue of disgracing this board through the actions of Scientology. I don't think anybody here really wants to hear more on this issue. And the fact that there's still blatant federal violations on the street, despite letters being issued for removing of about 251 planners, which have also destroyed the beloved public property of the city of Los Angeles, I think matters at this point, very rightfully so, should be escalated, and you, Deputy City Attorney, to in fact file charges against Scientology for wanton destruction of public property. And it's very clear that the city has a claim against Scientology for this clear and blatant destruction of property. And I think this board would look, frankly, ever more stellar in
Thank
following
you, caller.
through.
That's 2 minutes. Our next public commenter is caller Carla. If you can go ahead and unmute yourself, you'll have 2 minutes for public comment.
Hello, good morning. I'm calling here to express my concerns about the planters that are at El Gran Harbor Way and all around the Scientology buildings. These are, as the other colleges said, more than 250 planters. They're huge. They are dangerous. They are not just they're not just been there for months, but the city has ordered for them to be removed. They have never been removed, and on top of that, they have been put together even in a worse way, so that they're even worse in terms of compliance to the ADA. In that sense, I am very worried about the safety of the neighbors and the pass buyers, and also the people who work within the buildings, because we've seen one of the protesters, Audit LA, almost had an accident there because of those planters. People who are working there, they are working there 10 to 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. At nighttime too, these people are elderly people. We're talking about minors who are working there. We know it's illegal, but it's still happening. We see them because the protesters are there and they're putting the cameras out there, and they could get hurt. Anybody could get hurt, not just them. Houseless people can get hurt. Protesters who are there all the time, and they're not going to stop, because when it's happening there is getting the attention of the entire world and needs to be stopped. So I am really concerned about these planters. I mean, I never thought I was going to be calling the city council and the board of public works about planters, but they are so ugly. They have blisters. They are so dangerous. And the fact that they have never been removed, there's no fine that we have seen, no money taken from Scientology because of how they have not been compliant to the city, and everywhere else in the city.
Thank you, caller. That's
those
2 minutes.
Have not being punished.
Our next caller on the Zoom platform is caller Mona. If you could go ahead and unmute yourself, you'll have 2 minutes for public comment.
Thank you. Hello, Board of Public Works. It's me again, Mona. Are you getting tired of me? Thank you for the opportunity to address you today. I would like to remind you of your governmental duty to obey and uphold all ordinances, aka the planners and the permits on L. Ron Hubbard Way. I want to tell you a secret, though. Shh, can you keep a secret? I know it's a public meeting. I am only here for that. You, as a governmental body upholding what to be true and correct, will make me disappear. I promise. When I see the planners disappear, I will go away also. It's really that simple. Thank you, and I yield back my time.
Thank you. Our next public commenter is caller Teague. If you could go ahead and unmute yourself, you'll have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Good morning, people. Planters, I think that's been covered. I would like to bring up, there are logs outside of La Poubelle Restaurant, actually on the road at Bronson and Franklin. I brought this up a while ago, and I think it was about 3 months ago, and they are still there. And someone tried to move them, and staff came out of La Poubelle Restaurant dressed in disguises with photographs of penises swinging around so that people wouldn't be streaming this and catch them. And they put the logs back in the street. So we know it's the people at La Poubelle who are putting the logs on the street. That could cause an accident. What if someone came around that corner really fast, hit those logs, and then went flying and caused a death? Please do something about that. I just wanted to also bring up that on the weekend, they had 3 structures in their parking lot that were over the size of the limit, the allowable limit without permit. And I couldn't find a permit online for any of them. So I was hoping that you could maybe perhaps look into that. Planters are completely ADA incompliant, and I wish somebody would actually do something about that. I yield back my time, and thank you very much.
Thank you, caller. Our next and final caller with their hand raised for public comment is caller Juju. If you could go ahead and unmute yourself. You'll have 2 minutes for general public comment.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi. I've been calling since June, participating in the meetings as a concerned citizen. The planners, I'm sure y'all are tired of hearing about that, but it's an issue. They've gotten worse. Those planters are extremely heavy. They're breaking up the sidewalk, causing problems. Then the water that they run on their sprinklers builds up, sinks into the ground, and there's actually spots that are actually sinking down into the mud, causing a big disaster. And Audit LA, and her mobile scooter has a couple of times almost had a disaster, and I hate to have to see that. Those planners have to go. The next problem I'm working on, and it's the same thing we've been saying since June when they started with these endless permits. Today, they have a permit. It's not supposed to start until 3 o'clock. Early morning, at the break of dawn, they had the road blocked off. I witnessed a resident approach them and had been using the road all week, asked them for a permit, and they did not have a permit to show him. So he politely moved the plastic barriers, but they have cement blocks, these blockaded planters that they have to actually move with forklifts because they're so heavy. And they're scattered like out where you have to go through a zigzag to get through them. Well, the residents are going through the zigzag, but that's dangerous. I don't understand why they're going to close the street down at the crack of dawn when the permit doesn't permit them to do it until 3 o'clock. This is a continuous problem. Also, during their
Thank you,
events,
caller.
they have
That's 2
hired
minutes.
armed.
All right, President Corsian, that is the end of our general public comment today.
Great. With that, we will close general public comment. I'm going to try and go a little bit out of order if we can. Do we have someone here from Streets LA for item number 10, status update on upcoming street improvement projects? They're not here. Okay, so we'll still go in order. Item number 1, in all council districts, personal services contracts, 40 pre-qualified on-call bridge, civil engineering, and other design and support services consultants. Ms. Sotelo, before you present, we're going to take public comment. Give us 1 second. Ms. Satorsky, do we have any public
Yes, we
comment for
do
this
have
one?
2 hand raised on the Zoom for item 1, but I'll let you go ahead and finish reading the item. Oh.
We're done reading the item.
Sorry about that. First hand raised is Audit LA. You'll have 2 minutes on item number 1.
Yes, hi. I know these are for contracts for them to do what they need to do. And I'm asking, sir, if you could please make sure that you send, people, these contractors, whoever, to the situation. It's getting so overwhelming. All the egregiousness, it keeps adding and adding on. And so now that you're getting more, because I know part of the problem, I've been told by Hugo Soto Martinez's office, is that there's not enough personnel or people to, to do what needs to be done. Like say if, because you already have cited that the city has already cited for the planners, okay? And I know they already even put it in to the attorney, the city attorney. But I keep hearing that there's not enough people to do follow-up, like if they need to remove them, like if the city needs to remove it. So I am hoping that with this whole new list of contractors, that you will be able to help alleviate the neighborhood, the concerns of the people, everyone who's involved, and maybe making sure that at least enforcement can happen. Because what's the point of giving citations and saying we're going to send it to the city attorney if they know if the aggrieving party knows that, oh well, there's no enforcement. We already know there's no money to enforce us, so we can just do what we want.
Speaker, if you can keep your comments to the item, which is for on-call contracts for bridge-related projects, that would be helpful.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay, I didn't know it was bridge related. I just thought it was contracts, like for people that can help. Okay, but the same thing. If you can get, I don't know if any of them can also do that, but we need enforcement, so we need more these kind of contracts. So for this contract, if it's for the bridge enforcement, we don't have a whole lot of bridges here that I can tell. But still, if you can get this many contractors to fix our bridges, that is great. I hope we can get a whole boatload of contractors
Thank you,
that
caller.
can help
That's
with
2
other
minutes.
things.
All right, our next hand raised is caller Barry Bader. You'll have 2 minutes for item number 1.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Again, I just want to give a round of applause and commendation to Commissioner Corson for being an upstanding member of this board and diligently following through, taking the voice of the public. My hat's off to you again, sir. Appreciate that. For item number 1, the problem I have is every time I see a motion or any sort of agenda item, I continue to fail to see a report being submitted by the neighborhood council, all 99 of them, frankly, for the community impact statement and whether they are either in support or against and why they might be either in support or against. The problem I have is not necessarily tied to the members of this board. It's specifically the fact that your fellow council members that represent each of the different districts are not following through with their job of soliciting the voice of their constituents to actively
Mr.
share
Commenter,
information
if you
on
could
these
please
motions.
tie your comments to the agenda item, which again is relating to an on-call list associated with the bridge contracts, that would be appreciated.
Yes, the consultants being procured and the services being procured. The problem I have is that number 1, there's FISs submitted, fiscal impact statements submitted, which is great. Number 2, there, if need be, personnel backgrounds run on these contractors. But number 3, the issue I keep finding is that there's no reports, the CIS reports. And it seems to me that regardless of the services that are being procured, there is no solicitation of the voice of the constituents of where this work is being done. And that to me is a very disheartening revelation. How is it that the neighborhoods being affected by each of these contractors has not been solicited for feedback? And no CIS report has been taken by any of the 99
That's
councils.
2 minutes. Thank you. That's the end of our public comment for item number 1.
Great. We will close public comment for item number 1. Ms. Sotelo, if you want to continue with the presentation.
Sure. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Christine Sotelo from Bureau of Engineering Bridge Improvement Program. I'm here to ask that you execute the personal services contracts with the 40 pre-qualified on-call bridge, civil engineering, and other design and support services consultants. So on December 13th of 2023, Board authorized for the city engineer to advertise and issue an RFQ, a request for qualifications to provide bridge and civil engineering and other design and support services on a pre-qualified as-needed basis. On February 23rd, 2024, 48 consultants actually submitted their statement of qualifications. A bench of the 48 was established, and interviews were not required because we are going to be issuing a task order solicitation, and that is when we would be choosing to interview the firms for their qualifications. 2 of the firms have withdrawn during this entire process, and 40 have been determined to be qualified. There are another 6 firms that we will be returning to add them onto the list in the future. They need to have their CPA audit completed, and an independent office of audits and investigations, IOAI, within Caltrans needs to review that. So I am here today with the 40 consultants, and I'm asking that you establish that list. I'm here for any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Sotelo. Commissioners, do we have any questions or comments on this item? Vice President Chavez.
Yes, good morning. Thank you for bringing forward this list. It's obviously very important to have a robust list of qualified consultants, contractors that we can use when we're doing these big projects, especially hopefully we get additional federal money in the future and that we will be compliant. Can you talk a little bit about the percentages that for the disadvantaged business ownership, and also what kind of tracking do you do once you are selecting from this list? What's the ongoing tracking and reporting that happens either to us or to the public about, how many of these businesses actually get contracts and what the amounts are?
Okay. So because all of these consultants will be utilized for for projects that receive any federal funding, we are required to have a DBE goal of at least 20%. So when the task orders are issued, we will be reiterating that to them. They generally do submit their rates, and it's always higher than whatever the DBE goal is that we've established. We also do track it in our project award and control. I'm not sure if they do it on an annual basis or toward the end of the contract.
Thank you.
Our city attorney has additional information.
And Ms. Sotelo, it's correct that when a task order is awarded, it will be awarded by this board, and there'll be an opportunity to also address the participation at that time. Is that right?
That is correct. Thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you for that clarification. Any other questions? I do have one myself. There's 6 more that are going to be added. Do you know at which point you're going to go through with that part?
So of those 6, one of them has actually submitted their audit just recently. We are hoping to get the other 5 by the end of the month, but we are following up with them to try to push that through.
And would that come back to us to add, or?
That is correct.
Great. Seeing no other questions, is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second, Mitchell.
Quick, thank you. Ms. Satorsky, we have a first from President Pro Tem Grant and a second from Commissioner Mitchell.
Great, we'll take the roll call, starting with you, President Corsand.
Aye?
Vice President Chavez.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Grant.
Aye.
Commissioner King.
Aye.
And Commissioner Mitchell.
Aye.
Wonderful, all ayes. The item is adopted and carries forthwith.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I believe our Streets LA member for number 10 has returned to the room, so why don't we jump ahead? Apologies to everyone here. We're going to skip over to number 10, which is an oral report status update on major upcoming street improvement projects in all council districts.
And before presenter presents, we do have 2 hand raised on the Zoom. Sorry.
Yes. Do we have any public comment on this item?
Yes, we have hands raised, and we do, I believe, have public comment in person. If you would like to take the Zoom or in person. Oh, no, we don't. We just have it,
We'll take the Zoom.
the Zoom. Caller Audit LA, we're on item 10. If you can go ahead and unmute yourself, you'll have 2 minutes for this item if you would like to comment on item 10.
Absolutely. And see, this is where, it's usually helpful if they go first so we can know what they're talking about. So I can only assume. So since I don't know, and I'm going to try to behave, President Corsand, I don't want to give you trouble. But I want them to please include in the report. I'm like looking for the first time they will, put their plans for what is going on L. Ron Hubbard Way. I am concerned about all the endless permits. I'm concerned about, I know they requested to do repaving of their brick, and stuff, but I'm concerned whether or not they're going to use the approved BOE sealants. So I'm going to ask them if they could please really keep a close eye, because we already know they don't do what they're told, even under threat of fine and prosecution. So please, we want to make sure that's done right. Our environment, we're very caring about our environment, so make sure they're doing what's right. And I also hope that they would also look into the streets being closed sooner than their permits say. Okay, please, Bureau of Street Services, you are giving them these permits in good faith, but but they are taking those permits and turning them into how they want it done. So can you please send somebody out today before 3 p.m.? Your permit today is for 3 p.m. They are already blocking the street. Last week, they blocked it a day earlier. Now, if you would like proof of that, we can definitely submit that to you. But I am requesting that Bureau of Street Services fines them or actually revokes their permit for disobeying an order and then stop permitting them until they can prove that they can abide by the rules. So I am hoping he will address this, if not publicly, I hope privately, because if they cannot abide by their rules, then
That's 2
anyone
minutes. Thank you,
cannot
caller.
abide by the.
Our next caller with their hand raised for item number 10 is Barry Bader. If you would like to speak on item 10, you'll have 2 minutes.
Hi, yes, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to follow up on this item and mention that it's frustrating to see Bureau of Street Services Director Keith Mosey be so diligent on issuing a report for some of the repaving and resurfacing. Yet in that same area, there is an issue ongoing with illegal street blockades. So I would liken it at this point to a outright military occupation of L. Ron Hubbard Way, because it's clear that policies exist for enforcement, yet the enforcement arm continues to be lacking. I wonder at the same time as Keith Mosey solicits feedback from the community through fiscal impact statements and community impact statements, why part of that feedback has not been to solicit the voice of the constituents who are being barricaded from even entering their homes from the illegal street closure of L. Ron Hubbard Way. It's frustrating to see time being put into such a report and update, yet the report fails to mention the lack of enforcement, and selectively so, of issuing bogus permits, as well as outright militarily occupying a public street by the Church of Scientology. So Keith Mosey, my comment to you is I have no faith in you. And I think this board would do well in backing up that sentiment, particularly because Keith Mosey is also known to be invited to private galas and events by the Church of Scientology. How deep does it go,
If you
Mr.
can
Mosey?
restrict your comments to the major street improvement update, that would be appreciated.
That's my time. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. We have one more hand raised. Caller Mona M., did you have comment on item number 10?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much. For the major street improvements, I'm going to assume that Streets LA is going to talk about, because we don't know what he's going to talk about. It is going to talk about the A permits and the R permits for L. Ron Hubbard Way, and how when you receive A and R permits, you are stating that you are going to follow the ordinances, follow the laws, follow all federal laws. And with that, I would appeal to your convictions that the type A and the R permits are not going to be met through federal laws, especially in particular labor laws, that they need to show that they are going to either use minimum wage, public wage for the street repairs, or certified payroll with the vendors that they use to repair that road. So yes, I would like to see that that happens, because at this point they are not using certified payroll, they're not using certified repairs. So thank you, and I yield back my time.
That's the end of our public commentary via the Zoom.
Great. We have one public comment in person before you come up from Goat Puppet.
Yeah, you have to do the goose step now with our new president. Get used to it. So, 8th Street, downtown LA, this is what you're facing. All this fucking stupid ass bullshit's costing lives, man. All this fucking crap. All this crap right here is costing lives. This guy can't get to the fucking place because of these fucking bike lanes. Okay? So this was an incident that happened on 8th Street between Los Angeles Street and Figueroa. Left-hand side is blocked by these white cones. A person had a heart attack. The fucking ambulance couldn't get through. So he had to run over all the white cones with our publicly funded truck just to get in to over the lanes. You have these white cones and they bend and then they go back. And you're forcing emergency medical services to drive over those cones and damage our ambulances, our police cars, just to get to a safety call. Are you people fucking crazy? You out of your fucking mind? Do you understand what you're doing? In front of ICE today and yesterday, they had 2 emergencies. They have 1 today. You have these white cones. And you can't get in front of the federal building because your city cones are blocking EMS access to the sidewalk. Why the fuck are you doing this? You can have a bike lane, but why the fuck are you doing this? You don't do it over here at City Hall on Main Street, where all these assholes, all these VIP assholes park around. So the first thing you got to do with this new board is get rid of those white cones. Get them off our fucking streets before somebody dies. Somebody's going to die because of your white cones. You don't need white cones for a fucking bike lane, right? Get rid of that fucking shit. I have the video proof to prove it.
Okay, and with that, we will close public comment for item number 10, and we are ready for our oral report.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, President. Corresponding to the new commissioners. My name, for you guys that don't know me, is Langston Phillips, and I am the Street Services Superintendent of the Street Renewal Division. So the information today is being provided for the public to be informed on our upcoming resurfacing projects that we have, and to minimize any impact to city services or to the community as any delays. So for any additional information that they need, our coordinating section number is 213-847-3200. So currently, right now, we have no major street projects scheduled for our metro or valley region during the week of 11/17 to 11/23/24. However, we will provide an update to our pavement preservation program. So during this week of November 17th through November 23rd, the metro and valley regions, we will have 26 projects resulting in 12.61 lane miles. All right. So all our press releases were distributed out, and all the notifications has been issued out through the council office, and Street LA has outreach to all the stakeholders. So we have coordinated with transportation, DOT, and for any assistance. So this information is available on our Streets LA website at streetslacity.org, and use the resurfacing open projects. This concludes my report. Any questions?
Thank you, Commissioners. Any questions or comments? All right, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay, with that, we will move on to item number 2, which is an all council districts contract and award personal service contracts, Creative Paving Coating Solutions and Pavement Coatings Company. With that, we will open it up for public comment. We do have one in-person public comment card from Goat Puppet.
That's right. Goose step. Learn how to do it. January 20th. So this you know, all this outside contracts. And what the fuck is this? Don't you have people that work in the Bureau that can do this work? If the answer is no, then fire everybody you got and just do the Donald Trump thing and fucking third party hire all your stuff. See, that's why Karen Bass sacked 3/5 of this commission. She was sick of this shit. It's like the bitch is going, hey, when the fuck are we going to host the Olympics? 4 years? And we have this board of public works spending all their time with the guy with the ponytail kicking public speakers the fuck out and censoring public comment. What are you doing to get our roads fixed? You guys can't even fill a pothole. I drove over this pothole in Reseda on Tampa Avenue, by in front of Sherman Way. You know, it took half my fucking car off.
Please keep your comments restricted to the
This
cool
is what I
pavement
mean,
contract.
Mr. President. She's not elected. She's not appointed. You're the president. You don't have an attorney running your meeting. That's the first fucking thing. She's here to advise you legally of your obligations to the commission and the city.
Please
not
stay
to
on
fucking
topic.
tell me what I can say and can't say. How the fuck is that not on the item? Personal service contracts. Have I been talking about personal service contracts and the money it's costing us, the way you're fucking the taxpayers? Is that on topic? Get the hand off the mic. You're not part of the commission, lady.
Okay, that is your first
You're
warning.
not part of the commission.
That's your
They
first
are
warning.
the commission. So for Christ's sakes, run a fair Brown Act meeting and stop wasting our taxpayer money. Now I got to go talk to our new asshole police chief.
Just to clarify, that is his first warning, one more, and he will be asked to leave the meeting. Ms. Zatorsky, we'll move on to the virtual public comment.
Great, we have 3 hands raised on the Zoom platform. Caller Audit LA, you'll have 2 minutes on item number 2.
Yes, I am here because this is on topic, hopefully. If you're doing a contract about sealing streets and all that stuff, I mean, I do agree with what was previously said about, you know, a lot of that stuff. But my concern here is that with L. Ron Hubbard Way, they had a permit from you guys, a permit for sealing their street, the brick street. Now, mind you, I haven't seen any work on it yet other than having an old man vacuum it and hand polish the bricks. That's all I've seen as far as works when it comes to the 8 permits. But if this is a professional sealing company, why they should be then hired by Scientology to be working on the street, right? If you're going to be hiring them, then they need to be because we don't know. I do have the emails where BOE has told them that they need to use the right sealant, but who's going to make sure they do? Of course, they're saying, oh, well, yes, we'll do whatever we have to do, but we know that's not true. So I am asking you to please make sure that this company does the sealant, or at least inspect the sealant if they finally do go beyond vacuuming and hand polishing L. Ron Hubbard Way, and actually do put a sealant down. Because it needs to be, there's like, you know, different chemicals, different things. That's why we have a list at BOE of what we can and can't have. Same thing, BOE has a list of what planters can be made of, can't be made of wood, theirs is made of wood, you know, on and on like that. So I'm hoping that this kind of company will bring a new fresh set of eyes to different problem areas to make sure things are done correctly so we don't hurt our environment any further than we already are. And to also stop, hopefully
That's 2
stop
minutes,
certain
thank you.
abuses.
Our next hand raise is the caller Barry. You'll have 2 minutes on item number 2.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. So I just want to follow up on this at the transmittal section as well as part of the background. You see what? You see a fiscal impact statement, and obviously there's personnel backgrounds done on the individuals that are hired as part of this contracting company. But what you don't see is the solicitation for the voice of the constituents in which this paving and work is being done. Now, fascinatingly enough, one of the things that you have the authority to do as board members is actually work with neighborhood councils to share not only information but obtain what's called a community impact statement. I just want to educate you on what that means. A community impact statement is a report, pro or against, doesn't matter, on what the direct constituents of where this work is
Caller, you cut out.
being done actually feel about the work and those, but of the feasibility of the work. And districts, it's the work in question for this case, they have the impact will be not just the voice of what the contracting company is telling you what they believe the impact to be and what your BFC committee believes the fiscal impact to be. You'll have the direct voice of the constituents. It is very disheartening to continue to see that feedback not be solicited and included in these motions. How is it that you can truly sit there and vote in good faith if you do not have this community impact statement? The community impact statement is very simple. The president of each neighborhood council
Thank you,
has
caller.
the
That's 2
authority to
minutes.
bring forward.
All right, next hand raised is caller Yvonne. You'll have 2 minutes regarding item number 2.
Thank you. All of these contracts that you are being let are subject to the anti-slavery ordinance of the city of Los Angeles. And I would like your assurance that none of the money finds its way into the donation coffers of Scientology, which is a organization which operates with slave labor. That means that if any of the owners are members of Scientology and make donations to Scientology, you're funding slavery. Just like apartheid protests in the past, there needs to be a financial strangulation of Scientology within the city of Los Angeles, or you're going to start looking like Clearwater, Florida. Thank you.
All right, President Corsan, that is the end of our.
Right, thank you. We will close public comment on item number 2 and hear our presentation from Ms. Veal.
Good morning, President Corsan, City Attorney, and welcome to our new commissioners. I'm Ann Veal, Contract Administrator for Streets LA Urban Forestry Division. And Streets LA is requesting that Creative Pavement Solutions and Pavement Coatings, Inc., Pavement Coatings Company, be awarded the Neighborhood Cool Pavement Cooling Project. The scope of the project is for contractors Creative Pavement Solution and Pavement Coating Company to provide the mechanized installation of cool pavement coatings on Los Angeles streets citywide. On May 5th, 2024, the board authorized the advertisement request for proposal for this project. We received 4 proposals for this project, with Creative Pavement Solutions and Pavement Coatings Company being the only 2 companies to meet all of the requested criteria and the only responsive companies with experience installing cool coatings at scale on municipal streets. Creative Pavements will perform the machine application at 69 cents per square feet, which includes traffic control. Pavement Coatings will also perform machine applications at 69 cents per square foot. This is the first year of a 5-year contract with a combined annual amount of approximately $5 million, with a maximum value of $25 million. Office of Contract Compliance reviewed all documents submitted by the contractors and determined there were compliance with all required business inclusion program outreach. If approved, this contract will provide for the maintenance of approximately 168 lane miles of cool streets the first year. We ask that the contracts be approved and executed by your board as soon as possible. This concludes my presentation. If you have any questions.
Thank you. Commissioners, do we have any questions or comments? Just for clarification, do you know if you could break down for what regions of the city and the cool paving will take place in this fiscal year?
I don't have a region of the city. That would be more of a technical question for our street maintenance staff. I can have them get back to you on that, but they have a certain tool that they use.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments, commissioners? Do we have a motion?
I'll move.
Thank you, Commissioner King. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Zatorsky, we have a first from Commissioner King and a second from Commissioner Mitchell.
Great, we'll take the roll call, starting with you, President Corson,
Aye.
Vice President Chavez,
Aye.
President Pro Tem Grant,
Aye.
Commissioner King,
Aye.
and Commissioner Mitchell.
Aye.
Wonderful, all ayes, the item is adopted and carries forthwith.
All right. Thank you. Our next item is item number 3 in Council Districts 11 and 15, sole source contract All-American Marine Capital Improvement Project 2550 Environmental Monitoring Division Ocean Monitoring Vessels. We'll take public comment first, but before we do, I want to acknowledge that our former council member from the 15th District, Joe Buscaino, is also here in the room. Thank you for joining us. We have one public comment card for in-person from Goat Puppet, who is not here, so we'll move on to the virtual platform.
All right, our first hand raised is caller Audit LA. You'll have 2 minutes regarding item number 3.
Yes, I believe this is Mr. Councilman McCosker's area. I appreciate Mr. McCosker in different ways. I'm hoping that, because I'm not really sure what this is about, but it's saying observing vessels or monitoring vessels. I'm hoping that this will in turn trickle down to mean that it will help with human trafficking. We have huge human trafficking issues here in California and Los Angeles, and different varying types of human trafficking, whether, we have people in Scientology who've been human trafficked here. We can bring them to you if you need to talk to them. But I'm hoping that something like this will help monitor our coast and what's going on with these vessels, and to make sure there's no hint of any kind of human trafficking. Like, we're all sick of all of that. We're hearing about like P. Diddy cases and all these different things, Nexium, different things. There's a lot of human trafficking. And so if you guys are getting involved in that, as far as like monitoring and trying to protect our city and protect our waterways from that, and any other looting or pirating, any kind of crime, I do appreciate that. 22 million seems like a lot of money, though. I ask you to be fiscally conservative when you are doing bids or doing anything, because as we know, LAPD gets the lion's share of our budget. So everyone else has to, fight for the rest of the pie. And so I ask you to be mindful, but I do ask you to to keep your eyes open and to do things that would help benefit humanity. I'll yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Our next caller with their hand raised is caller Barry Bader. You will have 2 minutes for item number 3.
Hi, yes. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Thank you. I just want to take a step back and sort of explain what a single source contract is. You're basically, for those that don't know, awarding everything upfront with really no due diligence on exploring other avenues. Secondly, if you take a look to the FIS as well as the transmittals, you'll notice, oddly enough, there's a simple remark of no impact to the general fund, but what's also lacking yet again is the voice of the constituents via a community impact statement. How is it that a due diligence can be stated it has been done when no community impact statement has been taken by any of the neighborhood councils? The most frustrating thing is Councilmember McCosker was actually invited to speak on this very item by the neighborhood coalition, of which there was at least a dozen neighborhood councils present. And you know what Councilmember McCosker couldn't even be bothered to do? He couldn't even be bothered to show up for a remote call. Something that I did when I was simply walking around the neighborhood and just simply joined in and chimed. So again, I ask, there's an FIS, there's transmittals, but there's no CIS. And this is definitely something that impacts not just one, but dozens of the neighborhood councils as well as their constituents. I asked you to look into why no active work is being done to solicit the voice of the constituents via community impact statements, be it from the coalitions or the councils themselves, for why each of these motions continues to not have a CIS report. How can you say due diligence is being done when there's no CIS report being solicited? I've talked to the board members of these neighborhood councils. They don't know all the
Thank you,
inner
caller.
and outer.
That's 2 minutes. All right, our next hand raised is caller Yvonne. Yvonne, did you have public comment on item number 3?
I'm sorry, no.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to check
Thank you.
since you had your hand raised. All right, President Corsan, that's the end of our public comment for item number 3.
Great. We will now close public comment for item number 3 and hear our presentation from the Bureau of Sanitation and Bureau of Engineering. We have with us Stacy Karnia and Craig Sawa. Please proceed.
Good morning. Thank you, Commissioner President and fellow commissioners, City Attorney's Office, and Bureau representatives. So I am here to present on the awarding of and the execution of a contract to All American Marine for $22.2 million to build new vessels for the Environmental Monitoring Division. LA Sanitation owns and operates 4 water reclamation plants. 2 of those discharge to the ocean waters, Hyperion and Terminal Island, into Santa Monica Bay and Los Angeles Harbor, respectively. We currently have 2 vessels, Marine Surveyor and Lemaire, which we currently conduct all of our NPDES sampling, which is the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permits that are issued by the US EPA and the state and local water boards. The monitoring work that is done on these vessels, 1 vessel is currently 61 years old and has is the oldest operating vessel in the city of Los Angeles. The other vessel, Lemaire, is currently 35 years old. These vessels have have been designated as pre-Tier 1 diesel engines. The California Air Resources Board, also known as CARB, has issued regulation of the commercial harbor craft stipulating that vessel owners need to replace old diesel engines with newer and cleaner engines. So these pre-Tier 1 engines are out of compliance as of January 1, 2024. We are currently operating under a CARB E5 extension to perform our current monitoring. The age of these vessels, not only are the engines impacted, but also the maintenance and haul out costs that, have gone up. There's some safety risks that we have currently addressed, but they do come up at time to time, and the operational downtime that inhibits the ability of our staff to perform the NPDES compliance. Our request, again, is to award a contract to All American Marine to provide 2 new purpose-built vessels, which are catamaran-style aluminum hull with a fully CARB-compliant Tier 4 propulsion engine, which will reduce diesel emissions by over 90% and increase fuel efficiency by over 20%. This will reduce our maintenance cost, our haul out times. We will have improved safety features, operational capacity, and it will enable us to reliably and timely compliance monitoring for the next 30 years. All American Marine is a well-known and respected builder of this type of catamaran research vessel. They work exclusively with a naval architect, and they are the only shipbuilder in the United States that has engineered a vessel appropriate for our mission profile and that can provide a fully CARB compliant vessel. The hull has a proven design. It has been engineered with a propulsion system that is currently in use. They have built vessels for the LA Port Police in 2012 and have been awarded a contract as of June of 2024. They've built research vessels for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, as well as the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. Our sister agencies are also replacing their vessels through All American Marine, and we have done our due diligence that we have comparable vessels and a comparable price to our sister agencies such as City of San Diego and Orange County Sanitation District. So again, commissioners, thank you for your time, and we ask that you approve and award a contract and execute a contract to All American Marine to provide 2 new vessels to the Environmental Monitoring Division.
Thank you for that presentation. Do we have any questions or comments, commissioners? Yes, Vice President Chavez.
Thank you for that presentation. Can you just give us a quick overview for those of us who maybe aren't as familiar with the underlying work that will be done by these vessels and the importance of the information and research gathered by the personnel on these vessels that, you know, has been going, and how long has that program been in place too? I think I forgot to ask that last time.
Oh, of course. Yes, thank you for that question. Again, our work is primarily driven by the NPDES permits that are regulated by the US EPA and the State Water Board, also the Porter-Cologne Act. We do various monitoring within Santa Monica Bay and Los Angeles Harbor. In Santa Monica Bay alone, there's 8 types of field surveys that are done from the monitoring vessel La Mer. We do sediment collection, trawls, water quality, inshore, bioaccumulation, seafood safety. There are over 1,300 samples collected at 153 different stations for numerous constituents, from monitoring for DDTs, PCBs, various chemistry constituents, ammonia, nutrients, fecal indicator bacteria, etc. Heavy metals, such as the amount of mercury in the fish tissue, and these have been in place for as long as the Porter-Cologne Act has been, and the amount of monitoring and treatment, or amount of monitoring is based on the type of treatment from the reclamation plant.
Thank you. So would it be fair to say that the information that is gathered on a regular basis is what helps ensure that our water is clean and healthy to swim, to recreate in, to work in?
Oh, yes. Yes, ma'am. Our main mission at the Environmental Monitoring Division is to not only currently see how the environment is doing and if it is improving over time, but to make sure that the water is safe to swim, that the fish are safe to eat, and that continues for all of Californians and also anyone who visits our beaches every day. We monitor over 54 miles of shoreline to make sure that it is safe to swim for recreational water quality, which is the fecal indicator bacteria. And of course, again, the fish tissue that is done for the local seafood safety ordinances.
Thank you. I mean, colleagues, I don't think I realized how that this is a responsibility that the city does in order to, and also my understanding is that this information is reported not only to other government agencies, but shared with environmental organizations, nonprofits, who then, help publish that information. I, for one, I think would appreciate more sort of communication about this information, and I know that you share it widely. I mean, I would love to see this kind of information on our website or on our channels, just to inform the public that not only is this information available, but this is something that your city is actively doing, especially given the amount of investment that we are continuing to provide in terms of public funding to support this really important work. So thank you for bringing this to us. I appreciate that.
Yes, thank you. The Environmental Monitoring Division does have a website under the City of Los Angeles. You can find Environmental Monitoring Division, and it goes into a lot of the different work that we do. This I just focused on today is the monitoring that we do in Santa Monica Bay and Los Angeles Harbor. We also monitor in Los Angeles River, Dominguez Channel, Bayona Creek. It's a very large sampling program. but we do biannual assessment reports of Santa Monica Bay and Los Angeles Harbor, and the copies of the prior reports we post on that website, which has a lot of different chemistry and bacteria data as well.
You know, I just realized I would love to connect you with an organization down at the Port of Los Angeles, AltaSea at the Port of Los Angeles. I'm sure you guys are familiar with them. Are you already connected with them and working with them? Okay, perfect. I think that that's really important to collaborate, especially with all the research that you're doing. They are a blue economy research, education, and economic development facility. Encourage you to go check it out. They're doing great work on there. And what they do is they bring everyone together because there's a lot of synergy happening with what's happening in the education space, for example, with UCLA and Caltech and USC and the Southern California Marine Institute, as well as a lot of startups that are doing really cool, interesting things in the blue economy. And then also too on the you know, they help bring in, you know, school tours. They're doing all that work over at the Port of Los Angeles. So I'm glad you guys are connected, and, you know, if I can facilitate anything further, I would love to do that. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
President Pro Tem Grant makes a great point. If you wanted to introduce your
Yep.
colleagues as they've been standing the entire time.
Yes, I am sorry. I'll let them introduce themselves. Go ahead. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having us. My name is Craig Sawa. I am the boat captain for the city of Los Angeles, and I'd like to further segue on Vice President Chavez. Yes, I too strongly feel the city should publicize what we do more. There is transparency, but I think what we offer to the public is very important. The city has taken accountability. We're essentially the watchdogs for the ocean, and pretty happy with the work we do, and I think it's very important. And thank you, and I hope you consider our proposal for new vessels. Thank you.
Hi, good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for your time. My name is Joanne Lindenbrink. I'm a senior water biologist for our Ocean Assessments Unit. So we're the water biologists on the boat with our boat captains and our boat crew performing all this work that Stacy Carnia describes. And so we are the ones that collect the sediments, collect the water, and with some of the samples have biological analyses performed, which we conduct ourselves, the biologists, and then a lot of the samples go to chemistry. So we're the field crew that collects samples for both the biology and chemistry departments and environmental monitoring. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Welcome all of you. I have sitting in the back because my staffs are better than me. I am Dr. Mahesh Pujari, and I'm the division manager. I run the place, and we do fantastic work. I think one of the lead laboratory in the country. And if you say EMD, Environmental Monitoring Division, you don't have to tell people in this country where it is. It is in city of Los Angeles. Reason I'm telling you that under President Barack Obama administration, early part of the Trump's administration, I was selected one of these representative EPS advisory board member. Normally people serve for one time. Maybe they selected bad guy. They continuously elected me 3 times. And I represented city and city's interest. And all the work we do, I have presented to the EPA, and it's a milestone. We do extremely good work, and the hardworking people, they come to work almost every day. They come to work and help the city. So we need your support today and also tomorrow. Thank you for your support.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments, Commissioners? Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve?
So move.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Mrs. Twersky, we have a motion to, first from President Pro Tem Grant and a second from Vice President Chavez and Commissioner Mitchell.
Great. We will take the roll call starting with you, President Corsian.
Aye.
Vice President Chavez.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Grant.
Aye.
Commissioner King.
Aye.
And Commissioner Mitchell.
Aye.
Wonderful. All ayes. The item is adopted and carries forthwith.
Thank you. We forgot to ask the most important question on item number 3, which was, what are we going to name these vessels? We'll move on to item number 4. We have an AFE from the State Water Resource Control Board, and I have no name listed here.
We did not receive a name from the Bureau, so if
Okay.
anyone is here to present on item 4.
We don't. Okay. We can continue this item to a future date unless our city attorney has any.
I can speak generally if you have questions about what the permits are for from the AQMD, but I'm not a presenter on this item. But
Would we still, with your presentation on it, would we still be able to take action on it, or should we continue it?
I think it's up to this board. But it appears to be for permit related fees that are governmental in nature and obligatory to pay.
Okay. We'll pause there. We'll take public comment if we have any. Any virtual hands raised?
We do have 2 virtual hands raised and just want to remind our public commenters here of the board rules that each speaker providing public comment is limited to 10 minutes per meeting. So we'll go through and see if our public commenters would like to provide comment on item number 4. Audit LA, we're on item number 4. Would you like to provide commentary?
Yes, ma'am. Do we have how much time do I have left, though?
Yeah, you have 2 minutes and 15 seconds remaining for the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Erskine. Yes, okay. I kind of want to say what the other caller's been saying and like kind of agree that these issues would be better off if you could get CISs or neighborhood council input, especially for something like this, when you're dealing with stormwater, dealing with dump sites and all that stuff. Those things really affect individual neighborhoods differently. But as you know, like, you can't put something on your agenda in 3 days and expect the CIS. They need time. They need to be able to know what the agenda item is. They have their once a month meetings, and they have to agendize it. They're meeting 3 days in advance, and then they need to vote on it and then write the CIS and submit it. So I think it would really behoove this commission moving forward if you would find a way to, work with the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment on how you can get what's coming up down the pike out to the neighborhood councils so they can, because one of the meetings last week, one of the presidents came and said, we didn't have time to put this on our agenda, so I'm here speaking as an individual. And it would be way more powerful for that council president to have been able to speak as on behalf of her council, because she wanted to talk about the time elements. I know that's off topic. I won't go down that path. But just in general, because when you're dealing with landfills, which I hope any of these landfills has room, for 251 illegal planters, I hope there's room. But the point is that landfills affect neighborhoods differently. The ones closer are going to have maybe more issues, and you really need the input. It's just even reaching out, maybe having someone on set reach out to them and say, hey, this is coming down the pike, or just solicit, but trying to time it in a way that they can get it, the
That's 2
CIS
minutes.
on their
Thank you,
agendas.
caller.
Thank you.
All right, caller Barry, you'll have 2 minutes for item number 4.
Thank you. Before I make comment, could you please just remind me how much time I have left?
You have 2 minutes remaining for the rest of the meeting.
Okay, thank you. I'll start now then. I just want to follow up very briefly on this motion. There is no CIS report taken. It would behoove you to take the voice of your constituents. And I think particularly one of our new commissioners here would do very well with their own constituents. Commissioner Kang, I think you can agree with me that K-Town is okay. Some of the advocacy work that you've done would behoove you in soliciting feedback, and I'm sure they would appreciate some of the feedback for the neighborhood councils that operate in that area. I think it's only understandable and reasonable to take the voice of the constituents you represent. Maybe not now, but those that have helped you get to where you are. And with that, I yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you. It looks like we do have a hand raise. I think it's from a BOE representative, so I'm gonna, oh. Never mind.
Okay, thank you. Our city attorney, Adina Hoppenstand, if you wanted to provide a presentation on this one.
Certainly. I have some familiarity with these AFEs as part of the process does require my review, although I'm not here to present on the item. So the city does operate through its Bureau of Sanitation closed landfills. Even though they're closed, there is post-closure maintenance requirements, and there are discharge requirements. We as a city and state of California care what happens to water and runoff and the like from those facilities. So what you have before you is from the State Water Resources Control Board. You heard at one of the previous items about MPDES permits. This is another type of permit issued by the state. These are for, they're referred to as waste discharge requirements, WDRs. It's, again, a permit vehicle that the state has and issues under its water quality guidelines and requirements. And so the State Water Resources Control Board, another governmental entity, sets permit fees that are consistent with the permits at issue. Here they appear to apply to the closed landfills of Lopez Canyon Landfill, Bishop Canyon Landfill, Gaffey Landfill, Sheldon Arleta Landfill, and Toyon Landfill. And so really this is a non-discretionary request that is needed in order to pay the bills. I do believe that there may be a Sanitation Bureau representative online who might be able to shed a little bit more information or light on how the State Water Resources Control Board issues these types of permit fees.
Yes, we do have a sanitation representative present if there are any specific questions.
Okay, we'll open up for questions from commissioners, if there are any. Seeing none, is there a motion to approve? I'll make the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Ms. Zatorsky, there is a first by myself and a second by Commissioner King.
Great, we will take the roll call starting with you, President Corsand.
Aye.
Vice President Chavez.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Grant.
Aye.
Commissioner King. Commissioner King. Thank you.
Aye. Sorry.
And Commissioner Mitchell. They are excited about landfill. And Commissioner Mitchell. Thank you. All right, all ayes, the item is adopted and carries forthwith.
Great. And item number 5 is an advisement. I don't believe there's a presentation, and we can just read it and take a vote. Is that correct? Okay. Item number 5, in all council districts, mayor and city council have approved and authorized the Board of Public Works on behalf of the Bureaus of Engineering and Contract Administration to execute amendment number 2 to the 15 pre-qualified on-call contracts for architectural and related professional services. Do we have any public comment on this item?
We do have 2 hands raised, 3 hands raised, so we'll go through. Caller Audit LA, if you would like to make public comment, you have 15 seconds remaining in this meeting on item number 5. So let us know if you would like to provide public comment on item 5.
Yes, I'll talk fast.
Okay.
Ms. Happenstand, please have the city attorney enforce all these citations against Scientology. Please have you guys do your job, and I wish everyone a wonderful weekend, and I look forward to the hopefully 3 meetings, whatever meetings, how many meetings next week. Thank you. Have a great weekend. Bye.
Thank you, caller. Next speaker with their hand raised is caller Barry. You have 1 minute and 10 seconds remaining for this meeting, if you would like to provide commentary on item 5.
Okay, and the one thing I wanted to bring up here is the approval of this amendment. The original motion, in fact, there was no community impact statement taken. Again, if you look at the transmittals and the other reports, there was an FIS by your BFC committee, and there seems to continuously be a lack of solicitation of the feedback and voice of the constituents for which this work is impacting. None of the voices of any of the 99 neighborhood councils nor their coalitions was taken. No CAS, community impact statement, was taken. And it's frustrating to see as you see all these architects doing development work, especially under the shadow of Councilmember Weezar as the many affiliates who are unfortunately, in many ways, fortunately, going down with ex-Councilmember Weezar with the corruption, particularly with the bribes and grafts of various real estate development projects. And I urge the new board members to do due diligence and take the voice of your constituents, lest you face the similar foreshadowing that Councilmember Weezar faces. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. We have another hand raised. Yvonne, do you have public comment on item number 5?
I do have.
You'll have 2 minutes.
Excuse me. Thank you. I would like you to investigate whether these agencies are free of using any of the Sea Org members of Scientology for their backup labor and or provide any funding for Scientology through donations. Scientology does not pay their Sea Org members more than $50 a week for hundreds of hours of labor, and they are known to lend out those individuals to perform various tasks, including design. So please ensure that none of these architects or agencies use Sea Org labor. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. All right, President Corsan, that is the end of our public comment for item number 5.
Great. Do we have a motion to approve this item?
I'll move.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Ms. Zatorsky, we have a first from Vice President Chavez and a second from Commissioner Kang.
Wonderful. We'll take roll call starting with you, President Corsan.
Aye.
Vice President Chavez.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Grant.
Aye.
Commissioner Kang.
Aye.
And Commissioner Mitchell.
Aye.
Wonderful. All ayes. The item is adopted and carries forthwith.
Great. And Commissioners, we've just been advised that item number 6 is being requested to be withdrawn. So I think we will just move to item number 7, which is a release of a stop notice for Robertson's. I don't believe we have a presenter on this one. I'll make a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Thank you. Ms. Zatorsky, it's a first by myself. Well, first, let me pause. We did not open for public comment.
We do not have public comment on this item.
Thank you. First by myself and a second by President Pro Tem Grant.
Great. We will take roll call starting with you, President Corsan.
Aye.
Vice President Chavez.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Grant.
Yes.
Commissioner Kang.
Aye.
And Commissioner Mitchell.
Aye.
Wonderful. All ayes. The item is adopted and carries forthwith.
Great. For those listening, there's a lot of loud music outside, and we're just going to go into oral reports. So I'm just going to ask that we take a 5-minute break to see if the music stops before we get to the oral report, so it's easier to hear the presentations. And if not, then we'll have to have the soundtrack in the background. So we'll recess at 11:18. Thank you.
Let me put us back in record mode as we pause during our recess, and we are back at 11:27 a.m. and just want to quickly reestablish quorum. After our recess, we're joined by President Corsan, Vice President Chavez, President Pro Tem Grant, Commissioner King, and Commissioner Mitchell, and we have quorum again, and it's 11:27 a.m.
Great, thank you. We have 2 items left on our agenda. Item 8 is an advisement from the Office of Community Beautification, and we have Mr. Paul Raj here.
Got a little bit of a slideshow too that I think, there we go. So good morning. My name is Paul Roch, Director of the Office of Community Beautification, presenting our, I think, biannual report to the Board of Public Works. Just quickly, because I know we have a lot of new commissioners on board now, a little history of the Office of Community Beautification. We started in 1987 as an office of the board. It was started by then Mayor Tom Bradley and then Public Works President Ed Avila, with the basic idea that a lot of groups were coming to the city wanting to borrow tools and supplies for volunteer cleanup events, and the city had no infrastructure to provide that. And that was what really started our program, just working with community groups and helping organize volunteer events. A couple years later, in 1989, we started the graffiti abatement program and contracting with nonprofit community-based organizations throughout the city. They began providing graffiti removal, and a few years later, also providing public right-of-way cleanup. Currently today, between the numerous programs administered by OCB and with our nonprofit community partners, we provide over 350 full-time jobs to individuals working to clean and beautify the city of Los Angeles. And on top of that, there's about another 100 part-time jobs provided, primarily through the LA Conservation Corps Youth Clean and Green program, which we also administer. So we do see ourselves not only as much of a cleanup program, but also a program that does provide jobs to a number of residents in the city of LA. And is there something I have to do to, does this turn it on? So this is the vision and the mission of the Office of Community Beautification, in which we envision a city where every neighborhood is a clean, green, beautiful place to live, work, and play. And again, our mission is to inspire, to educate, and to empower people in the city of LA to take actions to improve and beautify their communities and their environment. So starting off again with our volunteer events, and this really covers the period of July through the end of October. So over the past 4-month period, you can see that OCB supported and helped coordinate 95 volunteer cleanup events throughout the city of Los Angeles. Those volunteers collected over 10,000 bags of trash, weeds, and debris from along the public right-of-way. In total, we worked with over 2,500 volunteers. Those volunteers provided over 10,000 hours of volunteer service. And looking at the value of volunteer time, as it's estimated to be over $415,000 worth of service that these individuals provided to the city of Los Angeles. In addition to these sort of coordinated events, OCB also supports a number of just ongoing volunteers who have maybe adopted a wall or a corner and keep it free of graffiti, trash, etc. So on top of our regular events, we also have a number of volunteers that are just out every day doing the work We got a few photos here of various projects in action. I think some of these are from recent grant that we received from Keep America Beautiful to do a number of events throughout the city and also coordinate rain barrel events. You will see the rain barrels there in that bottom left corner. Those are barrels that are donated by Coca-Cola. They get their syrup for their soft drinks in those barrels, and rather than throwing them away, they provide them to the city. We go and pick them up from their yards, add a spigot and a colander on top so that they can capture water, and then give them out at various events to people to place in their homes and do some water collections. So again, a number of different types of volunteer work and projects that we have ongoing. Moving along to graffiti abatement. And again, this covers the period of July to October. For that time, OCB contractors removed over 11 million square feet of graffiti from over 205,000 locations across the city of Los Angeles. You can see that approximately 23% of the work they did was a result of somebody reporting graffiti either through the mobile app or calling 311 or just going on the city website. And the other roughly 75% of the work is a result of our contractors just driving the major corridors of the city, knowing where there are hot spots in the area, and getting that graffiti in a lot of cases before somebody even realizes that it was up. Our contractors start their days early in the morning. They're usually out there, you know, by 6:30 before there's a lot of traffic and a lot of pedestrians, really trying to get the amount of graffiti removed as quickly as we can. Of those requests that were submitted, a little over 60% are completed within 24 hours of the time frame of when they're submitted to the city. And within 72 hours, almost 80% of the requests that we received were completed. Some of the different requests do take a little longer. They might be requests of the high elevation graffiti up higher, graffiti on murals. A lot of times there are cars or vehicles in the way, so we have to wait until maybe there's a posted no parking day or something like that. Or sometimes if we don't have the consent of the property owner, that also takes a little longer to get in touch with them. These are a few recent examples of some graffiti abatement. I believe these are all from downtown the day or the evening when the Dodgers won the World Championship, and a lot of folks were out celebrating. The following day, our contractors removed graffiti from 225 locations just in the downtown area for a total of 27,000 square feet. So we'll even remove good graffiti like the stuff that says "Go Dodgers" on it and stuff, because it's put up without the consent of the property owner, so we do consider it vandalism. Just one more photo of some graffiti abatement that also, I believe, was in the downtown area following the celebrations. Public right-of-way cleanup, we have a few different programs that focus on weeds and litter and trash abatement. There's Clean Streets, there's Clean LA, there's River Rangers, there's the LA Conservation Corps Clean and Green. So we have a number of projects that are similar in what they try to do, maybe a little different in the people that they hire and the folks that and how they operate and the areas they operate. But in total, for the period of July through October, OCB contractors cleaned 12,127 locations of public right-of-way, picked up a total of 54,960 trash bags, and 21,530 bulky items were removed from along the public right-of-way. See, there's a few before and after photos. I'm not sure how big they're looking up there or not. The top photos are the before photo, and the photo underneath is the follow-up one. Contractors remove everything from, pine needles falling on the sidewalk in the street, as you can see in the left side photo, to a lot of just trash and paper debris, illegal dumping, whatever it might be. And again, really throughout the public right-of-way. I thought there was one more series of photos. Maybe it's that one. So also doing some weed abatement on median islands, whatever's out there. Our contractors are out there pretty much 6 to 7 days a week, doing this type of work, supporting council districts throughout the city. A number of council offices also provide supplemental funding to the contractors to have an extra crew that will really focus in their particular areas and work with those council offices to get the work done that they need as well. So again, just quickly in closing, welcome aboard to our new commissioners. We have volunteer and weekend events pretty much every weekend. It does typically slow down as we move into the holidays, but I look forward to seeing you at some of the different events. I know Commissioner Corsand has been out to a number of our events that we've had over the past, and just thank the board for your continued support. We're going to be facing a little bit of challenging times coming up, as we know there's a lot of work to do and maybe not a lot of budget to support that work, but one way or another, working with our nonprofit agencies, we'll do the absolute best we can. So thank you. I'm glad I didn't have to put any music on my slideshow. I had the sound piped in from the outside. So
Thank you. Do we have any questions? President Pro Tem Grant.
Paul, thanks for your report. I'm impressed with the volunteers that you've brought in. If you could talk with us a little bit about the volunteers, from where they came, how they're trained, how many hours does the average volunteer work? Are they repeat? Do we track them? And have they been able, I know there are a lot of questions, and have we been able to, or have they migrated to other areas of concern where they can volunteer their services to assist the city?
yeah, so our volunteers, come from all sorts of different, agencies, from school groups to neighborhood councils to scout troops to just a group of people that live in a particular neighborhood, want to clean up their neighborhood. And, the events, sometimes can be a quick, they just want to get out there on a Saturday morning and do a 1 to 2 hour, let's just clean up this corner. And then other events are all day long. They turn into block parties. We recently just supported the West Beach Playa del Rey Property Owners Association cleanup. They do it at the end of every summer. They just had their 46th annual cleanup project down in the West Beach Playa del Rey. They are almost certainly the longest consecutive cleanup event that's been going on, and they get a lot of support from the city. The council office coordinates with our office. Sanitation brings out large roll-off bins. I think street services sometimes comes out with their street sweepers. The neighbors get their neighborhood all cleaned up, and Public Works comes in and does their thing, and it looks good. And hopefully it lasts until the next summer, and then it gets thrashed again. But really, we're willing to work with any volunteers that want to come out. And again, we have a number of people that say, just give me a roll of trash bags and a broom and a shovel, and I'll keep this corner clean, or give me a bucket of paint and a roller, and I'll keep this wall clean and stuff like that. We support a number of property owners that like to keep their storefronts clean or things like that. So anybody that's involved or interested in getting involved in cleanup, we definitely support that. We work with Caltrans sometimes on kind of joint events where maybe they'll be doing a cleanup of the on or off ramps of some freeways, and we'll try to get our crews out there cleaning the streets right adjacent to it. So, yeah, it's all about partnerships and getting, supporting people that want to do positive things.
Is there any recognition of the volunteers? Formal?
We do sometimes, and we haven't done it now for a number of years, but probably pre-COVID, we would sometimes bring volunteers here to the board to recognize them. As you guys will no doubt see sooner rather than later, we do also bring in some of the folks that are employed by the different cleanup programs. And the Clean LA program has, after they've completed years of service, they come in, they get recognized by the board, they get a certificate of completion, and a number of them actually transition into city employment. It's really, it's a moving day to really see how important it is to these individuals, a number who have come out of incarceration or homelessness or other challenging experiences, life experiences, and they've now getting their life back on track through these programs. And again, I think, Devin, you probably know the number. We've had about 25 that have actually moved into city employment.
I think we have 28 that have definitely been employed by sanitation or Bureau of Street Services, and I believe we have 8 in the queue right now waiting for a start date in the next few weeks.
Yeah, so we will probably I think about once every 3 months we have one of those recognition ceremonies, and they're really moving to the individuals that come. So.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I think we had one hand raised on the virtual platform. We'll take that in the public comment.
Yes, we did have a hand raised after our presentation started, but want to check. Yvonne, did you have a public comment on item number 8 before we close the item?
Yes, I want to applaud this. This is an example of good citizenry and good care for your city. I know that the environmental impact on the psychology of all of the citizens that visit your city is impacted. Please continue this type of effort. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. All right, President Corsan, that is the end of our public comment for item number 8.
All right, we will move on to our last item, item number 9, advisements, status of contracts and policy number 793 update. We will start with our BOE team.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Arsen Voskerchian. I'm the Division Manager for the Project Award and Control Division of the Bureau of Engineering. And I'll be reporting on the personal services contracts. And then I'm joined by my colleagues who will be reporting on a few other factors. Please note that this report was scheduled for October 25th, and it's regarding the reporting period of July, August, and September. And so some of the information in here may be a little bit outdated. For example, it doesn't incorporate the information or the decisions that were made by your board today. But I'll go ahead and present the report. So this report will provide the update on the personal services contracts for the quarter between July 1 through September 30th, 2024. And to the earlier question from Vice President Chavez about the bridge consulting contracts and how we provide updates on the DBE percentages, this report will provide some of those updates as well. And we do so on a quarterly basis. So this report includes a summary table of contract activities that occurred within this reporting period. It includes invoiced activities for each outreach program. It includes the tasks that were awarded under $150,000, as well as tasks that were awarded over $150,000. Provides a general update on task order solicitations. Provides new contracts that have been executed within the reporting period, contracts that have expired within the reporting period, as well as contracts that are scheduled to expire in the next quarter, which we are currently in now. It explains amendments that were executed in the previous quarter, amendments that were not yet executed but had been approved by your board. It also includes current negative deviations, and those are basically deviations from the percentages that were pledged by consultant firms on their contracts. And if they are not yet at those pledged amounts, we report them as negative deviations until they do reach those points. And then at the end, we have a program overview of all of the contracts and the life of those contracts, for the life of those contracts, not just in the current reporting period. So I'll go ahead and get started with the first table, which is the summary table of contract activities. And so we have 12 contract groups that we're reporting on, the first of which is our E2020 document control contract group. There's one contract within that. Next contract group is the wastewater environmental engineering services contracts. We have 24 contracts within that group. There were 5 tasks that were awarded within this reporting period and 9 that are currently within a negative deviation. We have next contract group is our appraisal consulting services with 11 contracts, and there was no activity within this reporting period for those contracts. Next group is the environmental documentation consultant services contracts. There are 11 contracts within that group, 5 of which are currently within a negative deviation. Next group is our environmental specialty studies consultant services. There are 10 contracts within that group. 1 task was awarded within the reporting period. We have our full services right-of-way consulting services. There are 7 contracts within that group and no activity within this reporting period. Next is our geotechnical and environmental engineering services contracts. There are 11 contracts within that group and 5 are within negative deviations. Next group is the civil engineering services contracts. There were 26 contracts within that group. There was 1 task awarded within the reporting period. All 26 of those contracts were scheduled to expire in October, which would be the next reporting period. So as of this reporting period, they were still active, but have now expired. But actually, there's an amendment that I'll talk about. 9 of those contracts have a negative deviation. Next group is the Los Angeles Neighborhood Initiative. There's 1 contract in that group with no activity within this reporting period. Then we have our architectural and related professional services contracts. There were 20 contracts within that group. 1 task was awarded within the reporting period. 5 contracts expired within that reporting period, and 10 had negative deviations. Just a note on the architectural services contracts that on September 23rd, 5 of the 20 contracts expired and have been archived. And so overall, that impacts the number of contracts that are listed in this table. Next group we have is our bridge and civil engineering services or support services contracts. There are 30 contracts within that group. There was 1 task awarded within the reporting period, and all 30 will expire in this current reporting period. Within the quarter that we are currently in, but not within the reporting period that this is reporting on. 2 contracts had a negative deviation. And last contract group is the LA Convention Center contracts. And that one, there's 1 contract within that and no activity for the reporting period. So that's an overall summary of all the contract activities throughout the personal services contracts. Our next section of the report is the invoiced activities for each outreach program. And so there are different outreach programs that we report on, the first of which was the MBE WBE outreach program, which came before our business inclusion program. And so at this point, none of our contracts are still within that previous outreach program. So we have 0 contracts and 0 activity under the MBE WBE outreach program. Our next program is the business inclusion program. That's the one that's most active now. And so we have 123 contracts that are within this reporting period under the business inclusion program. We've received a little over $16 million of invoiced activity within this reporting period. And so again, within the reporting period, there was 16 million invoiced. Out of that 16 million, about 6.5 million was for sub-consultants. And so this table lists how much for each category was invoiced. So for MBE, approximately 2.7 million was invoiced For WBE, approximately 1.4 million was invoiced. For SPE, approximately 3.4 million was invoiced. For EBE, 2.2 million. DVBE, 330,000, and OBE was 1.5 million. And then the percentages are listed there for each respective category. The next outreach program we have is the Disadvantaged Business Outreach Program. This is for the federally funded projects, and so the bridge consulting contracts that you heard earlier today for item number 1, those would fall into this program. There were 30 contracts within this reporting period under the Disadvantaged Business Outreach Program. $6.8 million of invoices were received during this reporting period. Out of that 6.8 million, 3.1, a little over 3.1 million was for sub-consultants. And so within that, 1.2 million was for DBE and 1.9 million was for OBE. The next section of our report provides an update on tasks that were awarded under $150,000. There were no tasks awarded under the MBE WBE outreach program. There was one task order issued under the Business Inclusion Program, and that was for LSA Associates in the amount of $30,000. There were no tasks awarded under the Disadvantaged Business Outreach Program during the reporting period. Similarly, for tasks awarded over $150,000, there were none in the MBE WE outreach program. There were 7 tasks that were awarded under the Business Inclusion Program, and those are listed in the table. Those are for Atkins North America, Black & Veatch, Geosyntec Consultants, HDR Engineering, John Friedman, Alice Kim Architects, and SOMAS. There was one task order issued under the Disadvantaged Business Outreach Program, and that was to Kleinfelder in the amount of $800,000. The next section of our report provides a general update on task order solicitations. The Los Angeles Regional Alliance Marketplace for procurement, also known as RAMP, continues to perform well, and there were no issues nor complaints during this reporting period. However, I do want to note that the RAMP is scheduled to shut down in December for 1 month to go through some system enhancements and updates. And so in the month of December, there will be a shutdown of RAMP for about approximately 1 month. And so during that time, there will be no activity for procurement on RAMP. Next section of our report provides an update on new contracts that were executed within the reporting period, and there were none within this period. And then we have our next section for contracts expiring. And so for our architectural and related professional services contracts, these services contracts are for pre-qualified on-call architectural and related professional services for various public works projects. The Board of Public Works approved the request for a 4-year term extension for 15 out of the 20 contracts in this group on September 18th, 2024. The contracts are now going through, well, as of the writing of this report, the contracts were going through final mayoral and council approval and clerk attestation. However, those have now been approved by the mayor and council and authorized by your board, or authorized to be executed by your board, which was heard as item 5 today by your board. And so 5 contracts out of these 20 will expire. The other 15 have now been approved to be amended. Next, we have our contracts that are scheduled to expire in the next quarter as of the writing of this report, which is actually the quarter that we are in now. And so the bridge and civil engineering support services contracts, these personal services contracts are for pre-qualified on-call bridge, civil engineering, and other design and support services for bridge and street-related projects funded by federal, state, and local transportation programs. A new list of personal services contracts is being established to replace the contracts that are scheduled to expire. Therefore, these contracts that are expiring will be archived after they have expired. And again, this item for establishing the new list, the new consultant contracts, was heard by your board today as item number 1. And so that's to establish the new contracts after these expire. next section or next item that we have under this section is again for contracts expiring in next quarter, which is the quarter that we're in now. And so our civil engineering services consulting contracts, which are for pre-qualified on-call civil engineering services for various public works projects. Your board approved the request for a 5-year term extension for all contracts in this group on August 16, 2024. The contracts, as of the writing of this report, were going through final mayoral and council approval and clerk attestation. However, they have now been attested and executed. And so these contracts that were scheduled to be expired have now been amended and extended for an additional 5 years. Section number 9 is for amendments that were actually executed in the last quarter. There were none executed in the last quarter. Section 10 is for amendments that were not yet executed by approved by the board. I do want to clarify that in the report, it says none for this period. However, as I mentioned earlier, the civil and the architectural contracts, those had been approved by your board, but had not yet been executed as of the time of this report. The next section, section 11, is for the current negative deviations. And so this is the section that goes through each of the consultant contracts and identifies where firms are not yet meeting the pledged amounts. And so we have tables listed here to identify each one with a brief description below the table to explain why they have not yet reached the pledged amounts and what efforts are being made to reach the pledged amounts. And then the last section of this report is on the back side of the report, and that is for the program overview of all active contracts. Again, this part is for the life of the contracts, not just the reporting period. And so under the business inclusion program, we have a total of 123 contracts. 179 tasks were issued as of last quarter. Overall, for those contracts up to last quarter, the budget for all tasks issued were at $280,167,412, out of which $157,582,628 had been invoiced as of last quarter, which is about 56%. And so overall, for all of those contracts and all tasks leading up to last quarter, the percentages of subconsultants have been provided here. And so for MBE, 19% was achieved out of the 18% anticipated levels. For WBE, 14% had been achieved out of 4% anticipated. For SBE, 31% had been achieved out of 25% anticipated. For EBE, 20% had been achieved out of 8% anticipated. For DVBE, 2% had been achieved out of 3% anticipated. For OBE, 16% had been achieved, and we do not have anticipated targets for OBE. And so as you can see, for the business inclusion program up to last quarter, essentially all categories had gone beyond the anticipated levels, except for the DVBE, which was slightly under. However, we expect that to go up in the future reporting periods. For disadvantaged business outreach program, there were 30 contracts as of this reporting period. 32 tasks had been issued for a total budget of $39,483,281, out of which $23,955,269 had been invoiced, which comes out to about 61%. And out of the invoiced amounts for DBE, 30% had been each achieved out of the 8% anticipated level. So they were way above the DBE goals. For OBE, 32% had been achieved, and there are no goals for the OBE amount. That concludes my report for the personal services contracts quarterly status report for July 1 through September 30, 2024. I'll be happy to answer any questions on this portion before I pass it over to my colleagues for the rest of the Bureau of Engineering report.
President Pro Tem Grant.
Thank you for that comprehensive report. Just a question around the negative deviations. It seems, looking at the last page, that by and large your optimistic patience paid off and that most of them achieved or exceeded the anticipated levels. But if a contractor does not hit the levels, is there any penalty that they face?
There is no predefined penalties. We try to work with that consultant to make sure they reach it before they hit that point. And so if they do not at the end of the contract, then we ask them to provide the justification for why not. And if there is extraneous circumstances where, for example, maybe the scope of work was reduced and so it wasn't really any way to meet that, and so that would be considered. But at the end of the contract, it would come back to your board for presentation to see if any action would be taken on that.
Are you aware of any action having been taken before?
Not that I'm aware of.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Arson.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Long Huang. I'm a senior engineer for the Bureau of Engineering, and I'm here to report on the construction change orders that were issued that were less than $150,000 from the period July 1st to September 30th, 2024. For this time period, there were 42 change orders that were issued on 15 projects, and the aggregate value was $966,680. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Christian Guerrero, and I'm with the Bureau of Engineering Wastewater Conveyance Construction Division. And I'm here to present for the quarterly report for BOE issued construction orders up to $150,000 for the period of July 1st, 2024 to September 30th, 2024. Just to give a little background on the construction services contracts that we authorize in BOE, we have staff to use an on-call list of contractors that provide emergency and as-needed repair services throughout the City of Los Angeles for a 5-year contract term. And these projects typically have a short duration implementation schedules and deadlines due to the urgent nature of the work. And that if this work is not met, it would result in significant costs or liability to the city. So typically, these contractors have relevant experience and sufficient resources to perform this work. And the contracts have been proven effective for the Department of Public Works in protecting the public. We issue construction order documents typically to define the scope of work and the project budget and the method of payment. And these documents are signed by the engineer, the senior engineer after the contractor accepts the work. Now I will go to the first table of the report. And for the municipal facilities and related projects, there are no construction orders issued to report for this period. For the emergency geotechnical and structural program, there are no construction orders issued for this time period. For the street improvement program, there are no construction orders also to report for this period. For the emergency storm drain repair program, we do have 15 construction orders that were issued for a total amount of $607,600. The next item, emergency demolition services, there were no construction orders to report for this period. For the emergency construction and repair services at water treatment plants, there were no construction orders to report for this period. And then finally, for the emergency sewer repairs program, there were a total of 53 construction orders issued for this period for a total amount of $1,623,692. And this concludes my report, and I'll answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? All right. Thank you. We'll move on to our Bureau of Sanitation, Mr. Pattison.
Thank you, President Corsand. Good afternoon, Commissioners, Bureau representatives, City Attorney. Unfortunately, the music's ended because we have content that is drier than the Mojave. Okay. On with the presentation. It was previously provided to the board several weeks ago. Unfortunately, there were a few glitches with the report that I provided. So I've given Ms. Satorsky the corrected report. We'll also ensure that it is emailed out to you, that you will receive the full email copy. It's about 200 pages, so you've only got a small portion which is corrected. For sanitation, for the quarter ending September 30th of 2024, the total amount billed by LA Sanitation vendors and contractors during this quarter was approximately $38.6 million. Of that, approximately 8.3 million, or 21.5%, went to our subcontractors. The individual subcontractor participation percentages for the minority business enterprises, 1.1 million, or about 2.7%. For the women business enterprises was also 1.1 million, slightly higher, 2.8%. For the small business enterprises, approximately 1.9 million, or 4.6%. For the emerging business enterprises, which are smaller than small businesses, the emerging business enterprises was 1.6 million, or 3.9%, and the disabled veteran-owned business enterprises was $127,150, or 0.3%. Again, this is for the quarter. Our other business enterprises received a little over $3 million, or 7.2%. Total achieved participation levels to date for all of our subcontractors since the inception of the program is 20.8% for our MBEs, 6.4% for the WBEs, 19% for the SBEs, 11.4% for the EBEs, 0.9% for the disabled veteran business enterprises, and 19.7% for our other business enterprises. LA Sanitation has 4 clean water contracts that will be expiring within the next 9 months. 2 of those contracts will not be renewed, and 2 will be renewed. We'll be renewing contracts with ACO Engineered Systems and Murray Plumbing and Heating Systems for maintenance projects, typically around our sanitation plants. We have 9 solid resources contracts that will be expiring within the next 9 months. They will not be renewed. However, an RFQ has been released. The proposal responses are being reviewed as we speak. We'll come to board hopefully within the next couple of months. We are releasing tosses to avoid an interruption in services for those. Happy to answer any questions, including President Pro Tem's previous question regarding not meeting anticipated or pledged levels. Overall, no, there is typically no penalty. As a colleague from Bureau of Engineering mentioned, we do request an explanation for not meeting the overall anticipated or pledged levels. However, with respect to pledged levels for individual subcontractors, if a prime contractor does not meet their level towards a particular subcontractor, and if there is no legitimate explanation for that, no change order or something like that, they are typically assessed a penalty for what is referred to as an illegal subcontractor substitution. So if they don't meet the anticipated levels, we look for an explanation. If they don't meet their pledged level for a particular sub, they can and have been penalized for that. You may find when you close out a project that you are going to be asked about assessing penalties against prime contractors for not meeting pledged levels towards subs.
Thank you.
We have any other questions?
Thank you. Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Mr. Patterson.
Okay, thank you. And Commissioner Kang, I got Commissioner Corsan the email regarding your other question from earlier in this week. Thank you. Okay, have a great afternoon all.
Great. Twice in a week, though, for you with us. Moving on to twice in a week also from Streets LA, Ms. Yenegas and Mr. Carrillo. Or just you? Oh, there we go.
Thank you very much. Martha Iñiguez, representing the Bureau of Street Services to report the status of all contracts. Active contracts on our report during this reporting period, the Bureau had a total of 25 active contracts, 1 pending, 7 expiring within 90 days, and 2 that expired within the previous 90 days. Beginning with items 1 and 2, for the production of asphalt with All American Asphalt. A new RFP is currently being drafted. Items 3 through 7 are for the disposal services with 5 various contractors, which are due to expire by the end of this year. We are drafting a new RFP, as well as drafting a month-to-month extension of the current contract not to exceed 1 year. Item number 8 is for the bus bench program with Martin Outdoor Media, We are no longer pursuing the mayoral ED3 approval for the amendment and have withdrawn that report. Item number 9 is for freeway off-ramp closure services with Sterndal Enterprises. A new RFP is currently being drafted. Item number 10 is for the transportation of heavy equipment with Ecology Auto Parts, which expired on October 31st. We are drafting a new RFP. Additionally, on September 11th, the board approved an amendment to extend the current contract for 2 years. It is currently pending mayoral ED3 approval. Item number 11 is for the maintenance of the Venice Canals and Bologna Creek with Mariposa Landscapes. We are currently drafting a new RFP. In addition, this board approved an amendment to extend the contract on a month-to-month basis for up to 1 year until a new contract is in place. Item number 12 is for community engagement services with Redeemer. This work will be completed by January 2nd of the expiration date. Jumping to items number 16 through 20, which is our pre-qualified on-call list for sidewalk and park vending outreach and education services with 5 consultants. This year's budget for these services has been reduced from $50,000 to $40,000. Streets LA issued TOS 350 on June 18th to solicit for community outreach services and development of promotional materials. 3 proposals were received by the July 17th deadline, and the proposals have been reviewed. Notices to proceed will be issued to the 2 consultants selected shortly. The report lists 2 pending contract items. Thank you, Commissioners, for approving the contract award for co-pavement services to Creative Paving Solutions and Pavement Coatings this morning. These 2 contracts will now be pending ED3 approval. The second item pending is for engineering support services for the Mission Mile Sepulveda project. 2 proposals were received by the October 31st deadline and are currently being reviewed. The next section of this report is for our TOSs, of which we currently have a total of 11. 1 TOS was closed this quarter, 2 were awarded, and 1 is currently pending. Beginning with items number 1 and 7, these TOSs are number ED21-009 and TOS number 78. The work has been completed and the closeout letters are being drafted. TOS items number 2, number 4, number 5, 8, and 9 are for TOSs number 701, 702A and B, 704 and 705. Work will be completed by the November 13th expiration date, and closeout letters will be drafted. Items number 6, excuse me. Item number 6, I believe, is for TOS 26 for the pavement condition survey with Michael Baker, and TOS, excuse me, just one moment here. Okay. Item number 11 is TOS 33 for environmental and engineering services with Tetra Tech. This board approved to extend the term by 5 years on August 16th for both these on-call contracts. It is currently pending council approval. We have 1 pending TOS for engineering design services for the curb ramp improvement program. The TOS was released on August 31st. 7 proposals were received by the October 3rd deadline, and they are currently being reviewed. All other contracts or TOSs not mentioned are active and don't expire until June 2025 or later. That concludes my report. I can answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Commissioners, do we have any questions? No. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Good morning, Mr. President, honorary members of the board, City Attorney. My name is Rene Carrillo. I represent Bureau of Street Services, Contract and Construction Services Division, and today I will be reporting on the change order status for change orders issued during the third quarter under 150,000. Our division only had one active contract, the San Fernando Road Bike Path Phase 3 project, that issued 5 change orders during the third quarter for a total sum of $131,074.12, which accumulated to 0.71% of the original contract. That is all which we have to report on this for policy 793. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you. Do we have any questions?
I think you have it.
Thank you. I don't think we have a report from Bureau of Streetlights. We will move on to our Bureau of Contract Administration, Roger Chahe. Che.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, commissioners, and executive staff. First, I just want to say congratulations to you all on earning your new positions and everything. My name is Roger Che, and I'm with the Office of Wage Standards, Bureau of Contract Administration. During this reporting period, which covers July, August, and September of this year, the Bureau has updates on 4 task orders. A total amount of $29,255.23 was invoiced against task order solicitation OWS 24-001 by Center for Living and Learning and Modern Times Incorporated for providing targeted direct outreach to employers in the city regarding the city's minimum wage, paid sick leave, and fair chance initiative for hiring topics. And TOS OWS 24-001 expired in June. The scope of work for TOS OWS 24-002 was to perform market research and provide a database identifying the retailers that are subject to the city's Fair Workweek ordinance, with an option to design and transmit outreach assets that provide information about the ordinance to employers in multiple languages. TOS OWS 24-002 also expired in June, and a total amount of $27,059.49 has been invoiced against that TOS by MCG and Associates and Modern Times Incorporated. TOS OCC 23-001 was issued in October of last year to raise awareness of the living wage and worker retention ordinance amongst employers of the Los Angeles International Airport through one-on-one interviews and distribution of printed materials. The awarded contractor, Modern Times Incorporated, is still in the process of obtaining badge access right now. Lastly, TOS BCA 24-001 aims to expand the Bureau's communication channels, create a new brand, identity, and consolidate its various websites into a central repository for all Bureau-related programs. The total amount of $5,000 was invoiced against this TOS by Bastilla Incorporated from the Department of City Planning's 2019 Planning and Urban Design, Marketing and Strategic Communications and Public Engagement on-call list of pre-qualified consultants. No contracts will expire next quarter. BCA did not issue nor award tasks over $150,000, nor are there any amendments executed or pending. This concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
All right. Thank you. Do we have any questions? Comments? Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good day.
I think that has cleared our desk. It is 12:21, and we are adjourned, and we will have a management meeting. That should be no more than 10 minutes.
Okay.